Okay, Priya, let us know when we're good to go, okay?
Sure, I think we can wait for 5 minutes, and once people start joining in, we can start.
Sure.
So are we live now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So I'm looking forward to this very unscripted discussion that we're going to have. I had a word with Nikhil earlier. So yeah, I'm expecting a lot of exciting stories from you all.
No, this should be fun. This should be fun. You, like I told you when we had our dry run, you were gonna have to interrupt us.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna just keep sharing stories and anecdotes otherwise.
Sure. No worries. Priya, just give us a heads up when we are good to go.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I see a lot of people are already joining in, and those of you who are joining in right now, who have been around for a couple of minutes, feel free to share anything about yourselves. Where are you joining in from? What are the questions you'd like them to answer today? So that's going to be key. So any pressing matters, or if you just want to make statements about what's going on right now in the industry, feel free to do that. So just jump in, and we'd really want you to be a part of this conversation. So anyway, you can do that. We will start shortly. We're just giving it a couple more minutes before we start. Okay, so I see that we're already getting questions. So again, whenever you see fit to get into that. So this is Pavan, and he's from the financial background, and he'd like to know, would be keen to know cold calling pitch. Okay, so that's there. Then there's Jeta from Milk Mantra Dairy. Again, please forgive me if I've mispronounced your name. So she's joining us from Bhubaneswar. So hi there. I'm here in Bangalore. What about y'all? Nikhil, Medini, where are you all joining us from?
Bangalore, gorgeous weather.
Oh yeah, no, but it is slightly gloomy also. I mean, it's just raining incessantly.
True.
Yeah, Nikhil, what about you?
I am in Pune, and the weather is pretty much similar here as well. I'm in Pune, and the weather has been pretty same here as well. It's been drizzling, it's been raining, so the weather is pleasant. But obviously, after a little while, it gets annoying when it's just rain and water.
It's the London weather, na? Constant drizzle, can't step out, can't do anything. It's nice weather to sit in the balcony, have chai and pakoda, but nothing beyond that. Can't have a super productive or efficient day.
Absolutely. I had gone to Edinburgh a couple of years ago, and there my friend had told me that you will see like the weather in Bangalore and Edinburgh is exactly the same, especially in the monsoon. It just drizzles and it's damp and it gets chilly. So yeah, I can see the total similarities there. Okay, hi Balram. So he is joining us from Noida. Jeta is in the customer experience side of things. Okay. Anyone else? Feel free to share anything about yourselves. We're happy to listen. And Priya, do let us know when we are good to go as well. Okay, Shloka has some very serious questions here.
Yep.
So how do we recruit callers or freshers? How do we retain them? Attrition is very high. What training activity should we keep for them daily, weekly? So it's getting serious now. Oh, that's great.
Shibani, I think we can start now.
All right. Let me
with the
just
introduction
then
part.
dive in straight away. Hi, I am Shibani, and you may have seen me in a Leadsquared webinar or two. I am here to host this session, which we're co-partnering with Xoxo for this Xoxoday. The speakers I have today is Medini, who is the VP of Compass, and Nikhil, who is our speaker from Leadsquared. So he's a sales manager there. So I would like you all to please share a few lines about yourselves. I checked out your bio and I saw a lot of interesting things there. But Medni, why don't you go first? Tell us about your experience working with these fantastic companies. And I also noticed that you're an avid traveler. So maybe a few lines on that as well.
Awesome. Okay, firstly, hi, welcome to everyone who's joined the webinar. We promised to make it a chatty, super interactive one. The topic is one that Nikhil and I feel super passionate about too. Quickly about me, about 12 years of experience in the marketing space. Worked with companies, ad agencies, Infosys, was the creative director at Furlenco, then decided enough of this life, packed my bag, packed it all up into a backpack and just went around the world to travel, became a diver. And then COVID happened and said, boss, time to clip Medini's wings. Let's bring her back to reality. So I've actually just joined Xoxoday 3.5 months ago. But it's been phenomenal in the sense I've worked with very hardcore B2C brands, media and employees and all of that. For me, working with Xoxoday Compass has been such an interesting challenge because it's B2B and B2B2C. So I think a lot of my insights for today's webinar also come from there. So more on that as we go along. Nikhil?
Nikhil, please do share a few lines. I noticed some big numbers there about big deals that you have closed. So we definitely like to know more on that.
Hello everybody, and thank you. Like everybody said that, thank you for joining in. It's one of those conversations that I feel very passionate about because most part of my career I have spent in inside sales, which started off in 2014 when I was just a demand generation executive when I joined a company in Pune, and it's been a tremendous journey since then. Right, learning different phases of inside sales, of cold calling, and I think my experience there and backed by what I learned in my organizations like Adobe and Viome Labs and now at Leadsquared has given a new perspective to approaching sales from the traditional manner or the traditional beliefs of having to meet somebody face to face and only then can you close big deals. And that myth being broken through so many different experiences that I've had with multiple companies over the years. Has sort of motivated me to grow further in this role. And I'm super excited here with Leadsquared. It's been about 4 months. We're doing some pretty amazing stuff. And like Shibani said, cracking big numbers, closing big deals, and taking home more incentive. I mean, what better do you want at the sales?
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nikhil, Medni. So a quick reminder to the speakers, particularly. So these are some of the points I think that had enticed the audience earlier and points that we had put down on what they would learn about from this session. So please do touch upon areas like enhancing your overall call volume and quality. So just tips on that. Scripts and conversations that have worked. So clearly this session is completely unscripted, but then in your experience, what sort of conversations really work, and identifying the potential of right calls to beat your competition. So those are the possible areas that we should ideally touch upon. And I have also seen questions coming in. So that is also something we need to take ahead as well.
Yep.
So do you all want to, I don't know, do you want to start with things that have worked for you? Or do you want to take up some of the questions first and then sort of mix it up that way?
So can I just lead in with something, because Nikhil and I have talked about this and I think it'll probably provide the flow for the conversation. So I think the number one thing when it comes to cold calling is that you need to change the attitude with respect to cold calling. Okay. Your cold callers are your first interface between your brand and the client. Right? There is no reason to be apologetic, to stutter and to be really sad about calling. Change the attitude. You're not a call center executive, and that is not demeaning either. But in line of this conversation, you are effectively the sales guy for this company, right? Top down, bottom up, change the attitude that your cold caller is simply a call center executive. No, if fancier designations help, try that. Let them take pride in what they do so that they want to pick up the phone and start selling your brand, your product, because they truly believe in it. So I think I'm going to start from there.
No, and I absolutely agree. Right. Before the pandemic happened, and we all got stuck to our houses, or our offices were no longer functional. Sales predominantly, like I said in my start, right, has been a process where it was said to that, oh, you have to meet your customer and then will you be able to close, whether it's a small deal or a big deal. Last 7 years, something that I have understood is, if you're selling in a different territory, or even if you're selling in the same city, what matters is your confidence that can come across when you're talking to somebody, to your prospect. So it does not matter whether you're selling on the phone, whether you're selling on an email, or whether you're selling in person. Like Medini rightfully said, you need to have that attitude amongst you, that what I am doing is of equal importance what a field sales or a regional manager or a director of sales would do. And now, because of the pandemic, I feel most salespeople across the globe don't have an option but to try closing business on the phone. So yes, and I have faced this from a personal experience, that when I joined and when I got into the inside sales as a demand generation executive, my parents thought that I'm joining a call center business, because you tell them I'm going to work from 6 in the evening to 3 in the morning, which by their terms is night shift call center operational hours.
Correct.
And then to try and explain that, I represent a brand, I represent a company that is, and I'm the first person that customer will talk to and probably decide in those 2 minutes of conversation that, yes, I want to take the discussion ahead. So take pride in that conversation, that opportunity that you get first than anybody else in your company to represent in front of a customer.
Yeah. And confidence was a key word that you used, right? And where does confidence stem from? Training. A lot of organizations also believe, अरे call center executive है, ठीक है, बस we'll give him the brief, ऊपर से brand के बारे में, product के बारे में बता देंगे, उसको lead ही तो generate करना है. But boss, let him be well versed in the product or in the brand the way you as the CEO or founder are. That way, not only is he passionate when he's selling it to the client, if the client has one level above questioning beyond the standard pitch, you don't stutter at that point and say, oh, let me connect you. You've lost him. The minute you say, let me connect you to another person, you've lost him. You got his attention because he asked you a question. How do you equip your end guys to answer those questions? Intensive training. It is not, I hired you today because you're a 5,000 rupee resource and let me put you on the job tomorrow. No. If you want to hire freshers who speak the language of business for you. It could be Hindi, it could be English, it could be American English, it could be Gujarati, okay? But they should be well-versed in the language, but training about the brand, about the product, most critical. Confidence will stem from knowledge.
And I absolutely agree, right? Even if somebody is joining you as a fresher who has no experience of selling, no experience of product, but if you invest those first 3 months in training him and making sure that he in turn would feel confident selling and representing your brand, for all you know, 5 years down the line, he's going to be far more committed to your company and to your brand and to your process than somebody who you would hire after 5 years coming in with a 15-year experience from a multiple brand across that he's worked and may not have the same enthusiasm or the confidence of a product.
Yeah.
So for business leaders, for company leaders, for senior management, I think this is a key part, that and I think everybody leads by example, right? Right now, what happens is a lot of smaller companies look at companies like Microsoft and Adobe, and they say, okay, if they are doing it, it probably is working right.
Yeah.
Then I think we should try that too. Why not? So that is why I think inside sales is now also gaining a lot more importance across a spectrum of companies, irrespective of size.
Yeah.
It's being given that utmost, that equal importance that a field sales team would get.
Yeah. And Shloka, I think, asked, how can you possibly help reduce attrition? I don't know. I feel like part of that answer could also stem from this, right? So one is training them to be confident and believing in the product as much and owning that role. I think the other thing is we define goals by numbers. Aaj 100 calls karne hain. Today you have to do 500 calls. If the kid is unable to do 500 calls, he's obviously demotivated, right? So right there you have employee disengagement. He has also got an unachievable target, right? 100 calls, 50 calls, whatever the number is, it seems unachievable and slightly unreasonable. Can we change the approach itself? Can we change the goal to not number of calls, but number of closures, and make that a more achievable? Okay, Medini, if at the end of every day you have 2 closures, that is a good job. 2 seems a lot more achievable, relatable, and it'll make me want to wake up in the morning and say, okay, I have to make 2 calls today, as opposed to, oh my God, I have to make 100 calls today, right? That's when they do kaam chori and will make fake calls, will make faltu ke calls. But that doesn't benefit anybody. It doesn't even add to your database. It's just a waste of time and money.
No, I absolutely agree, Medini. I think the way managers set goals for their team members also will define how motivated they're going to be to achieve it. Absolutely. Right? If as a manager, if I tell my team every day at 5:30 in the morning when they come and start their day that आपका आज का target है कि आपको by the end of the day you have to complete 100 calls.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm a smart sales guy and I know that that is all what is expected of me, I could get 100 borderline numbers and finish calling in like 2 hours and then spend the next 6 hours just chilling.
Absolutely.
But what am I gaining as a sales representative myself? Nothing. I'm not learning something new. I'm not getting the opportunity to talk to somebody new. And probably I'm missing out on that bonus that I could get from a closure.
Yeah.
As a sales manager, I am missing out exactly on those 3 pieces as well.
Yeah.
I might be able to tell my director that, hey, my team is making the call. There must be something wrong with another part of the process.
Yep.
But then the sales manager is that disinterested, and that disinterest is, coming forward to his team members as well.
Yep.
So I completely agree with what Medini said, is that change the way you approach your goals.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if somebody has to make just 10 calls. As far as his goal of getting one decent demonstration or one decent appointment or one decent conversation going, then making 100 calls and getting nothing out of it.
Yeah.
Right. So it is, and cold calling is a game of both, right? It's quantity mixed with quality. Absolutely. That I believe that you need to put together, and it will become interesting, right? It's very well driven when you know the right motivation to provide, both that you see coming from your managers and the motivation that you find for yourself as well. Right? Don't approach this as a job just because mujhe karna hai. I mean, try finding some kind of relatability, right? Somebody asked a question right now that, how do you get the attention of locals as a foreigner who does not speak their language? I have come across so many people in my career who try to put up an accent, right? When they're talking to an American or you're talking to a Britain-based person or somebody from another country. Don't. Own up that, yes, I am from India. This is my language, because the way you communicate does not matter. What you communicate will matter.
Agreed.
So I could be talking in broken English, but I could make sense of what I'm pitching to you.
Absolutely.
And he'll relate. Right now, Indians are spread across everywhere.
Yep.
Right. Every country is dealing with Indians in some way, in the company, in some shape or form. So they know. we are capable, we are smart, we're intelligent, we know what we're doing. It's just that own up to who you are and then let it come across.
Yep.
Don't worry about somebody not understanding their language. That's their problem, not yours.
But Nikhil, you beautifully lead into the next parts with your answers. I love this. Shibani, I'm sorry, but he used another beautiful word, relatability. This kind of takes us into the next part, which is scripts and conversations that have worked, right? Now, why would a conversation, a cold call, the first time you're calling them? So I think firstly, we should be aware that it's unlikely the first time someone calls you, they're going to listen to you. So it's always, hi, Nikhil, can I speak to you? I'm calling from Compass. No, I'm sorry, I'm busy. No problem, Nikhil. Please let me know when's a good time to call you. I would just like 15 minutes of your time. So I think setting that expectation is also all right, that you cannot connect with all of them the first time, right? Second, and the most critical part, you have to understand what their need is. So it's not a standard pitch, it is a pitch specific for their industry or specific for their level, specific to their pain points. Those are very, very critical. And that's how you create relatability and relevance in a cold call. I have seen so many people just go on and on with a standard pitch, and the client has asked them a question. They probably have the answer. Sir, we'll come to it after 5 minutes, sir. Why can't you just get to it because he asked you that question? It's because you have that script in your head, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I absolutely agree. And very, very well put, Medini. I think the biggest misconception I think cold callers have, and I think sales managers are not able to put it across, is because they want you to make sure that in the first 2 minutes of that conversation, when somebody picks up the phone and said, yes, go ahead, you make sure you're reading 3 paragraphs straight.
And you
non-stop.
Yeah.
Right? It's like there's a flow. Just a cold call does not, it's a conversation. Right? I could call Shibani tomorrow and Shibani does not know me. And I could go like, hey, Shibani, how's your day been? And Shibani would like, hey, it's been good. What's this about? Right? That's the logical next question anybody's going to ask you. And I'm going to be like, hey, I know I'm calling you out of the blue. This is not a call you were expecting. I wanted to talk to you about a minute, something relevant to what she's doing.
Yeah.
Right? I could come to Shibani and be like, hey, Shibani, I know you deal with marketing as a industry. You have that experience for the last 10, 15 years. I would like to know, how is automation working for you in marketing? Now that's caught her attention, and then it will get you some answer, right? It will get some response that you can then take and build on. Yes, a pitch is important because you need to know the right questions that you need to ask, which are relevant to your product, but it does not have to come across as scripted.
Agreed.
Turn that into a very genuine conversation. It's like talking to a friend. It's like talking to a colleague, right? About any random discussion you're having. You could be talking about Great Wall of China for a moment.
Nikhil, you had that instance, no, where you were having a personal conversation with a client and that kind of gave you a foot in the door.
Absolutely, yes. And we were just discussing it before, we went live, right? I was talking to a customer about Leadsquared, and we both initially connected on the fact that he has people in his network that I found on LinkedIn come from the film industry background, who've been in the film industry. And I am on a personal level outside of Leadsquared working on building an OTT platform. And we connected on that. And I said, hey, this is amazing. And I'd like to talk to people in your network about this and give them an opportunity to partner with me. And that conversation, I got my first film that I could probably bring on my OTT platform, right? So try finding, that's the part of research that you put in terms of efforts before you approach anybody on a phone call. And a lot of times I feel that cold callers get very disheartened that हमने 15 minute 20 minute लगाए इस account के ऊपर research करने में और जब phone लगाया तो voicemail पे चला गया. But that research that you did once is going to serve you for 10 different people you're going to reach out to in that company over the next 1 week. That same research is going to help you when you write a cold email. Right? It's a one-time effort, but in the process, you're also learning about a different industry. You could be selling a technology product today, as an inside sales rep. Tomorrow you could be going and selling ad sales because you've pitched to media and entertainment companies. And now you know how that industry works.
Yeah.
So it's all interconnected, right? Try finding that one thread of excitement. And inside sales is going to be the most beautiful journey that you will ever come across, I believe.
No matter how many mass emails we send, customized digital campaigns we run, nothing will ever replace a phone conversation. Nothing, a conversation, right? And that is why no matter what happens, cold calling can never get obsolete. You can never feed off someone's reaction, grasp onto that little hesitation of theirs. You could never do that via any other medium except a conversation. So the word I think is conversation. That's very, very critical for cold calling to be successful.
Absolutely. And I think just to also come to the second point of the agenda, right? How can you get quality conversations going?
Yep.
Right? Quality conversations, like we both said, you need to go away from the whole scripted pitch idea. That scripted pitch is never going to convert into a conversation, and the conversation will never convert into a sale.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Absolutely.
Because like imagine, put yourself in the shoes as day to day we get calls from companies who are selling home, life insurance or a credit card. Analyze their pitch once. Like pick up the phone, say, yes, I have 2 minutes. And they're going to go on a next 1 minute rant about, sir, we have a credit card for you, lifetime free, no documents required, and a lot of benefits. You would like you to sign up. And our default answer is, no, I'm not interested, because they've not even bothered asking you if this is of your interest.
Yeah.
Oh, I get a lot of those. It really irritates me.
Guys, I got the strangest call from a credit card who said, Madam, aapko credit card lena chahiye. And I said, no, I don't believe in credit cards. Thank you very much. But Madam, COVID ka time hai. Aapko medical emergency.
Oh, yeah, I know. I got the same thing.
I was like, are you kidding me? Really? You're banking on me falling ill to get your credit card?
But I got to give it to that sales guy. He's been so creative to bring the new pitch.
I was very offended. मेरे को bank का नाम भी याद नहीं है, but I was very offended, Bawari.
No, absolutely. But see, that's the thing. I by default tend to pick up these calls and just out of I think just to be sensitive and understand that कि आपका भी call volume का target है, I'll give you your you know what. And I hear their pitch and then I'm like, no, thank you very much. I'm not interested at this time. And they calmly understand कि ठीक है sir, आपने सुन लिया, हमारा call record हो गया, हमारा number हो गया, हम आगे बढ़ जाते हैं. But as a manager, think that the fact that they spoke to me for 2 minutes, they couldn't convert me, does not serve the purpose of that bank.
Yes.
It serves the immediate goal, which is of achieving that number of calls. It does not necessarily will convert into sales. So somebody's asked a question right now that cold calling requires going through volume, and we have a success rate defined by leads were relevant, etc. And how does that convert? And you also need people who are smart enough and confident to close the sale. How do you marry the two skill sets? So Medini answered that question right in the beginning, right? You need to train your people. You need to make sure that fresher or not, experienced or not, they know your product. They know your brand. So even if they're just making 100 calls a day, back of the mind, it should be so well imprinted that I need to sell 3.5 lakh rupees worth of product today. So every call that I make will go with the same motivation. And somebody else also asked that how do you, what are some of the ways that you can motivate your SDRs? Give them bonuses. Yeah. Give them something they like. See, you connect with your team on a personal level, you will know exactly what they want.
They don't want those. They don't want ESOPs in your company, guys. Let's be very real. That seems to be the easiest thing that companies offer the minute a kid says, "Mere ko salary badhana hai." ESOP denge. There's that joke, no? An ESOP is not even worth right now the paper it's printed on. He doesn't want an ESOP. Give him a 500 rupee Flipkart ka gift voucher. See his eyes light up in joy. Right?
Absolutely.
Gamification.
Gamification is a great idea. Make sure that there's a scoreboard in your team, right? Push everybody every hour ki jo aaj end of the day tak top aayega, we will give him an award. It could be as simple as a Toblerone bar
We
So
do
I'm-
exactly that. We do exactly that at Compass, guys. This is just a beautiful time to plug this in. You use the word gamification and incentives. That is what Compass does, right? It automates and gamifies the incentive process for sales guys. So you're no longer just, trying to, acha, mere ko 10 call karne hai. No, you're opening an app, you're having fun. It says, congratulations, you finished 3 successful calls, 2 more, and you get a gift card. It's instant gratification, fun, engaging, and truly kind of re-engages with the sales force who is otherwise so tired of doing the same thing.
I also have an example here because again, being with Leadsquared, I heard of certain activities that have been taken up. So there was this one time where I believe this particular team had about 40 people and they created some team sort of contest. I think those 40 people were divided into 4 or 5 teams. And it was at the end of the quarter, they would decide which team overall won the prize, made that much sales. So basically, it's a bunch of people working together, helping each other out to get to that target. So yeah, and I remember, I think the team that won eventually went on a dinner, with dinner and drinks and a big package there. But it certainly worked, and everyone was so pumped, and you could see that everyone was helping each other. Like your team members were helping you out to close that deal or giving you tips on how to do that better. That was really nice to see as a non-salesperson in the team there.
And it's that small little voucher, right? It's a small little gesture that will not only motivate somebody individually, it will bring a team together.
Yes.
Right? It's a way of bonding. It's a way of healthy competition. It's a way of learning from each other. So, and I understand a lot of companies might not be able to do that because of let's say for the size of the company, they're very relatively small, they're relatively new. It's not feasible to give out cash prizes or anything. It doesn't really need to be monetary, right? It could be as simple as just putting out a digital certificate congratulating that person's weekly efforts on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Correct.
It could be giving that guy a day off on his birthday, saying, you've earned it, just take the day off, we're not going to trouble you. There are small things which don't cost the company too much money, but could add so much value for the employee.
Absolutely. And it could gain, your company could gain a nice positive review on Glassdoor.
Absolutely.
For doing something as small as that, like a genuine review. And that's what drives a lot of companies' image as well, right, in the market today. You could have somebody from tech or the tech team probably who work specific according to KRAs. Ye mera task hai, I have to complete this coding by the end of this week. And that's my task. So you're working project to project. Sales is a different ballgame altogether. Sales is never going to stop. Sales is always going to keep changing. There are going to be new things coming in sales. You're going to try some new stuff. Sales keeps marketing on edge. Right.
Absolutely.
This content is not working. I'm not getting inbound leads. What the hell am I supposed to do?
That's why you and I are on this call, Nikhil.
Yeah. My go-to. So when I was in Adobe, right, and every time we would tell them that we are not getting enough inbound leads in our account, and we used to follow a lot of account-based marketing because as an enterprise sales guy, I had 100 accounts that I would manage of key customers. My go-to a lot of times used to be that marketing is not doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the best go-to for any sales guy.
It's
right?
an excuse.
Why leads
Perfect excuse.
Yeah.
Marketing is not doing its job. किसी को पता नहीं है मेरा brand मैं क्या बेचूं.
People don't know, they don't have a dedicated website. Why is not rerouting? I can come up with 100 excuses.
Yeah.
To say that somebody else is not doing the job right. But then I did that for like a month. No kidding. I did that for a month because I was, and as everybody gets fatigued out of calling as well, right? The cold callers, we're making 70, 80 calls a day. It gets frustrating as well to a point when you don't see conversions happening. And US is a big voicemail market.
Yeah.
You're going to reach 70 to 75% voicemails on a daily basis. It gets frustrating, and then you want to find an excuse. But when you sit back and you think that what have you gained by not doing things that you could have done and by not blaming somebody else, I was able to analyze, I lost a lot of incentive on the table that Adobe could have paid me, and I could have bought my wife probably something nice. I didn't. Why? Because I was finding excuses for not making calls.
Yeah.
So it grows on you, right? Try finding your own motivation for making those calls. Try finding your own reasons, and things will change. You will start finding joy in doing inside sales. It's a beautiful process.
I have a very beautiful case study to share about this. Yeah. So P&G's Pampers was the market leader in Japan and all around the world, but was the market leader in Japan. Okay. And no local Japanese company was able to penetrate through their own local market. They did multiple focus groups, multiple interviews, multiple rounds of things. And every mother's standard response was, we love Pampers. We love Pampers. At that point, the team apparently went back to the head of marketing and at this one company and said, boss, doesn't look like we'll be able to break into this. The manager said, marketing guy said, keep asking questions, ask leading questions. Okay. Now, what do leading questions mean? It's not just, ma'am, do you like Pampers for your child? Ma'am, do you like Pampers? Does your child like it? Is it comfortable? Is it good looking? Blah, blah, blah. While they were doing this leading question tactic, they started hearing a few hesitations, a few, yeah, we love Pampers, but. And they grabbed onto that but and they said, okay, so what's that but? And they said, but the diaper is very fat, yeah. It looks like our baby's bottom is very big. And that is when Cow Mary's launched slim diapers. Thereon, the world has Pampers revolutionized it, okay? But when cows introduced slim diapers, they killed the market in the first year. Why did this happen? One, because they asked leading questions. Two, because their competition got complacent. Their competition said, our mothers are buying what we are giving them because there is nothing else in the market, right? The minute the concept of slim diapers came about, the entire ball game changed. And now Cow Mary's is Mammy Poco Pants is one of the market leaders along with P&G. So it's very crucial not to just har mano. Don't, acha, you're using that. Okay, theek hai. No. Do you have any issues with it? One great customer database is calling out to your competitors or companies who use your competitors just to find out how is it going? Is it good? Aapko kya customer support acha lagta hai? Oh, nahi, everything is great, but once if there is an issue, ek hafta lagta hai fix karne ko. That becomes your foot in the door. Don't worry, ma'am, we have 24-hour, customer support for you. Those are the leading questions our cold callers have to ask, for real conversations and conversions to happen.
Absolutely. And I think another key skill to add to have as a cold caller is I think there are two things that every cold caller should have. One is the skill of listening, and the second is being patient. Right, cold calling is a patience game. Right, you cannot be losing your patience, and you need to be a good listener, because it is at times when you're asking these leading questions that you might end up pressing the right note where the customer will start talking. Absolutely. And then that is your window of opportunity to pick up those key points from everything that he's ranted about, which he's unhappy with his existing product or solution or service, to build on for your own sales, right? So somebody also asked,
and you use those and you go back to your sales team and say, include this in your demo. He said that these were his four pain points. So make sure to include it in your demo so that not only does he know that you heard him, but you're actually solving for his problem.
Absolutely. And that will resonate how good as a company you are so intertwined working together with different teams that messaging is not lost anywhere.
Absolutely.
Right? From the SDR to the inside sales, to the pre-sales, to probably or the solution consulting that's going to work on the demo, or the team that is probably on, let's say, your field sales team that will eventually go and meet them. They all need to be on the same page. And that will only happen if at all you are able to capture that information in the first call. So there's somebody, I think Balram has asked a question early on, that how to handle objection while making cold calling. A lot of people are going to just end up, hanging up like we do on credit card sales people. The best way to avoid or rather handle objections is one, make sure that you have some information about the person you're speaking to, right? Something of personal value to that guy. or to whoever your prospect is, so that you can start the conversation not as a sales call, but as a conversation. So if let's say you're in, let's say financial services, and you're probably talking to a CFO, and you're pitching him a new app that you have, which basically helps with management of payroll for your employees, right? When you look at this CFO's profile on LinkedIn, you find out, okay, he's won some award that he was given, let's say 2 years back. It doesn't have to be last month. It could be 2 years back. And you can start that conversation from there. The best way to avoid objections is to build rapport. Build your rapport with that guy in the start, the first 30 seconds. Be respectful that he's picked up your call, that he's agreed to give you the next 2 minutes of his very precious time, and he's going to talk to you. Then when he says that, okay, call me after some time, respect that space.
Yeah.
Say that, okay, I will call you after some time, but when would be that time?
Yeah.
Make sure you get that answer from him so that this does not repeat again, that you catch him out of the blue. Somebody says, I don't need your services. We have everything we need, right? Fair enough. That's absolutely great. The reason for my call was just to make sure that you could know about another product that is out there, which could probably take your process a little level higher. So if you're interested, I'll be happy to share some information.
Yeah. Or do you want to refer me to someone who is more relevant?
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're not in the right department and they say, oh, this is not relevant to me, no problem, sir. Could you please either connect me to your sales team or give me the contact, and I will pursue it with them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, so handling objections is mainly a skill to make sure that you identify, a little bit about the company, about the person you're talking to, and about the product that is the right fitment.
Yeah.
If I call a CFO and I tell him I want you to look at my technology, he is going to say he's not interested.
Yeah.
Just because he's a C-level guy does not mean he'll know everything.
Yeah.
And if you call a CIO and tell him I want you to see how a payroll system will work, he's going to be like, go to somebody else. Yeah. This is not of my interest. So finding the right person is key. And I think Ramit also asked that question later on, is that how, profiling is a must to initiate any call, be it hot or cold. Profiling is absolutely key. And profiling, to be the best at profiling or finding the right personas to talk to, again, ties back to what Medini said right in the start. Have your product knowledge.
Yes.
Have your training, know what your business is for and who it caters to.
Absolutely.
And now most companies have access to LinkedIn as a platform, right? That's the best platform to find people across companies across the globe.
Yeah, somebody has asked how to identify the right person. I mean, LinkedIn, guys, most key decision makers update all their relevant designations. You can use sales navigators, but I think LinkedIn is your best bet, truly.
Absolutely. And also a key advice, guys, when you're profiling on LinkedIn, I strongly recommend not to send out connection requests to just everybody in that designation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Don't end up becoming like a spammer on LinkedIn. It's not going to serve the purpose.
Yeah.
Right? Find the right guys. Probably put a note out when you're sending it. Now LinkedIn gives you that option that you can put a small message, right? Why do you want to connect with him? Yep. It doesn't, and there also don't try to sell. Cold callers, the biggest mistake that the most SDRs or even inside sales guys make is that they think that, okay, if you pick up the call, I'm going to sell. That I'm going to make sure that I am going to sell to you in this 1-2 minute I've got right now.
Window of opportunity. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a message from an Abhi Bajaj who says, which hiring process has worked best for you? I've seen some companies jump candidates through multiple hoops. Many of them are tired of investing so much time with no guarantee of job offer. So Abhi, is this question from a interviewee point of view? You're saying as a guy who's going to get a job? Just could you answer that? Because I think that's what you mean. But then the only thing I can say is, well, every failed interview is a learning experience. Just learn from it. And there's never a guarantee when you give an interview. You can't ever expect one. Yes, companies have stringent processes. Some do mock calls, some do multiple rounds. Some companies are famous for doing multiple rounds. And at the end of it, if you don't get the job, I don't think you can lose much heart in it. Just Pick up those learnings and go for the next one. Yeah. Doesn't make sense to cry over that.
Yeah, and to answer this question from a hiring manager perspective, right? If I am, let's say, a inside sales manager, I'm looking to hire an inside sales executive or an SDR, irrespective whether they come from experience or not, there are essentially 3 level of rounds that I think are just essential. One is obviously to identify and make sure that they have decent communication skills, right? They don't need to be excellent. They can be trained to that. They can be helped, and you can make sure that they get there with training. To check how quick learners they are, right? Whether it's from a point of learning sales processes, whether it's about the product, because at the end of the day, you do not also want that, okay, they're going to continue training for 6 months and then you're going to start expecting results after 6 months. So you want to make sure that they learn quickly, they understand the product, they're motivated. And the last round is mainly just to understand on the personal front, learn more about them.
Yeah.
What is their motivation? Why do they want to take this job? Why do they want to get into this industry? So I think 3 rounds essentially are good enough to look at somebody who you're hiring in a cold calling spectrum.
So Chandan has asked a very nice question. Cold calling in the education space has a more immature audience. When we call students to sell products, the retention rate is very less. Any tips for that? That's an interesting, I guess when it's a new space and the audience you're reaching out to itself is, I don't know, customize the content to make it engaging for them, create content in the forms of memes or GIFs. So even your cold callers then can't be your, hello, Mr. Nikhil, how are you today, right? They need to be younger guys who are willing to have conversations with a younger audience, I suppose. Anything, Nikhil, anything specific to keep in mind when the audience is younger?
I think it's just understanding your target audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
If
you're selling to let's say like a 10-year-old student, you're probably talking to his parent for a course you're selling to them.
Of course.
In the e-learning space. If you're talking to somebody who's looking to do, let's say, prepare for a entrance exam, that student is relatively in their 16 to 18 sort of age group, right? There, your pitch is that, okay, you're smart enough to know that you have 7 different options to go to.
But you still don't have the buying power. You still have to
Correct.
convince your parents for it.
Correct. So
Yes.
you basically will not talk money to this 16-year-old.
Yeah.
You will talk how you're going to make sure that his prep experience is going to be better.
Yeah.
And when you send him some, cool videos to look at how seamless the learning experience will be, he's going to be like, okay, I absolutely want to do this. I'm going to make sure my parents buy this first.
Yeah.
Right? You let him be so confident about this learning experience that he goes and convinces his parents to
because
pay.
He's the one who's going to get the money out of the dad's wallet, not the end sales guy. You're right. Yeah.
Exactly. If I went to like a 10-year-old, like a 16-year-old father, and I spoke to him and I told him, sir, our product is the best in the market to, teach a student GMAT.
Yeah.
And his first question is going to be, like, aapke jaise 10 aur hain, right? Why don't I go to him?
Yeah.
And that puts you in a catch-22 situation. The problem here is that the father is not going to be the student who's going to come and take classes. It's the student who you need to speak to and tell him that, I'm going to make this next 6 months of your test preparation journey so easy that I'll make sure that you get the results you're looking for.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I see a similar question was asked by Pranay as well, how cold calling works in the education industry. And he's referring to speaking to someone from class 12. And since as they are not the decision maker, what can they do? So basically,
so add value for them and make them your evangelists for sale, essentially.
Exactly. I think Akash has also asked a similar question, but in the B2B space, the business in B2B and the customers we approach has to create a market for the product and is new to entrepreneurship. What go-to-market strategies can one suggest to them? Akash, I am about to step into that sphere very soon in a couple of months, so I understand where that question is coming from. It's nerve-wracking when you're new in a market, or probably if you're new as a company stepping into a pre-existing market with some big players. The best way, and I think that's a slow and steady journey to make yourself prominent there among some of these bigger players. I think that's what has been Leadsquared's journey in the CRM space, right? When we've gotten there and we have giants like Salesforce and you have so many big names out there. And I think Leadsquared in the last 10 years has managed to make that name, and they grew slowly and gradually. You start by approaching smaller customer sets who have a limited budget, who understand that they might not be able to get everything in what Salesforce is giving them or what your competition is giving them. So they don't have that high level of expectation. But you come in there and say that we are new, but we're going to make sure that we give you everything that we have and everything that you've not even expected. And then you turn that customer as your, वो बोलते हैं ना, कंधे पे रख के आप, then you're going to make sure that you use him to no end to become your spokesperson in that community, which could be the community size with, like, let's say 50 to 200 employees. Right now, historically speaking, I think Salesforce's customer base lies in the 10,000 plus, because that's the amount of investment needed to have a platform like that. But 51 to 200, you go to anybody in India and you ask for a CRM and they're going to say Leadsquared. Because that was the market that Nilesh and Prashant, who are our co-founders, they were like, let's tap into that market first. Let's get 100 companies, 100 logos, which are from that segment, and make sure that they represent the name later on. And now when we go to somebody who's 10,000 plus, we're like, we have 100, 1,500, 2,000 customers that we've grown from, starting from there, building up to this level. So making your mark in a new market is difficult, but it's not impossible.
So guys, a lot of you have asked, when you have managed to get their attention and then suddenly you realize that the customer is losing interest. Another way of doing it, and that's something we're actually testing within our company now, is can we empower our executives to offer spot discounts or offers? Okay, so the minute you sense they're losing interest after you've spent, say, 5 to 6 minutes taking them through the product, can you empower them to say, sir, if you sign up for a demo within this week, we'll give you a 10% discount on subscription, where it might not impact your top line so much, but it's giving you just another hook, right? Because you're just trying to keep them on the conversation longer. So an offer, a discount, those are typical B2C things that do work, but they work for a reason, right? So, is cold calling efficient for life insurance? Most people are not interested.
Saw that question.
Oh, tough. I mean, I would say...
I think insurance is best sold on the phone.
Yeah.
I will tell you 2 reasons why. Insurance as an industry is an industry which survives on people's fear.
Yeah.
By generating fear in somebody's mind.
Yep.
So if I came and if I called, let's say, Priya tomorrow, and I said, Priya, do you know that you're at the risk of Delta variant that's about to hit the country in 3 months? And God forbid if something happens to somebody in your family, are you prepared for that event?
Yeah.
Do you know that your current life insurance you've been paying premium for the last 5 years does not even cover that? And I am offering that to you at just 10 rupees of premium per day.
Yeah.
Make it so marginal, right? That it is cheaper than getting one samosa at the corner.
Yeah.
But that could secure your life.
It could change your life, absolutely.
It would change your life. And somebody is going to suddenly be like, yeah, it's not that expensive because it's 10 rupees a day.
Huh?
I would end up spending it, not know about it.
Yeah.
And if God forbid something happens, I am secured. So a lot of markets, a lot of products are driven by fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fear of losing out, right? A lot of times it is the fear of losing out. Okay, my competition is doing it. I don't want to be the one left out. So I'm going to sign up just because my competitor is also doing it.
Yeah.
And that's where, like Medini said, that, your spot discounts, these kind of things come into the picture.
Yeah, instantly. Yeah.
Another way of not letting somebody lose interest in a conversation is to keep the conversation two-way.
Yeah.
Right? Let them answer some questions. Like, imagine this webinar, it was just me talking for the first 30 minutes. I can assure you that we would have less than 20 people left in the conversation. Because there's no way that, I am interacting with you. There is no way I'm answering some questions. The way this is going on is because there is a two-way communication. Ask that guy anything, that what's your favorite cricket team?
Absolutely. There's a cricket match going on, sir. Are you watching it? Such an easy
Yeah.
thing to ask. Yeah. Lunch
It's like IPL. It's like IPL. So what do you think is going to be the prediction for today's match?
Absolutely.
It could be anything irrelevant from the actual conversation you're about to have with that guy, but he's going to suddenly be like, "Oh yeah, you're like a friend to me.
Yes.
You're not like a vendor."
It's where you stray from the script and have conversations. I think we keep coming back to that, no? Yeah.
That is the crux of
Pranay, I
cold calling,
want to answer this question. You've asked, once you're already a brand, but there are some bad reviews and people say, I have read that, how do I turn them positive? So this is, while you're cold calling, someone says, "Arey yaar, but tumhare brand ke bare mein kuch bura suna hai." Is that what it is? I mean, the thumb rule is, when you get a bad review, never delete it. Always acknowledge it, admit your fault in it, and if you can replace or reimburse or something, do it, and try to close the loop on a public platform, always. If it's not truly your fault and the guy on the cold call says, "Yaar, but galti hua, I read this review," you should always own up to it. Don't try to say, "Oh sir, no, the client was an idiot." Oh no, you can always, gloss over it by saying, "No sir, we were in the testing phase," or the expectation was different. I don't think people will delve too much on it, as long as they see that it's an acknowledged review. People get really pissed off about open bad reviews, either that get deleted or that you don't reply to. So just always make sure you do that.
Yeah, and there's another famous line from this movie, and I'm sure everybody's seen that movie at some point in time, which is Wolf of Wall Street, right? If you guys remember, when Leonardo DiCaprio joins the clinic, which is his first cold calling job, right? He tells that guy that I always ask my customers to judge me on not on my winners, but on my losers, because I have very few. So you can acknowledge that, yes, it's at the end of the day, every product is going to have some failure. You're going to end up in your journey of coming across somebody who's like, I was not happy with your product. And that's fine. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. Right? But on the other side, you have a vast number of logos that talk about you, that say that we like this. So acknowledgement is great, but you don't need to apologize for it. That I'm sorry that you had to come across this review, or I'm sorry that you saw that review and you found that as a bad experience. It's fine. Say that, we onboarded that customer, we had a disagreement on expectations, we were not able to deliver. It wasn't really a great experience for them and for us.
Tendulkar also has criticizers, guys, right? You can't please everyone.
Yeah, you can't. And always bank on the good customers or the good experiences that your company or your product has brought in, right? They are the ones who will validate your product, your service, your interactions, the way you onboarded them, right? A lot of times customers come on board a platform not because they like the product. Probably your product and the one they were using were the same. They were spending the same amount. But they came on board with you because they liked the experience you gave them.
Exactly. And that's when you say, relationship building. I have a great relationship with my client.
Exactly.
That's what it boils down to. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's one aspect that I believe the day you will transition from just a cold caller to a cold calling specialist, in your mind, not the designation a company will give you, is when you see your first deal come through.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be as small as you closed $100 deal.
The first win. Yeah.
The first win will give you that motivation that this was crazy. I think I want to go from 100 to 1,000 and from 1,000 to $1 million.
Imagine if the org celebrates those wins with a simple post on LinkedIn. Imagine how motivated the kids would be. Yeah.
Exactly. And these are small things that will grow your team, that will grow you individually in this aspect of sales. So I think it's about perception, right? Don't look at cold calling as a process, as a call center operation where you have to come, log your hours, log your numbers and go home. Look at it as something that would get you your next personal achievement, right? Like my personal goal for the next 6 months is that I want to buy a farmhouse by the end of the year, right? So I and my wife have been trying to figure out how we can do this, and that's my personal goal. So I was talking to my VP just a couple of days back, and he was like, you know, what motivates you? You keep finding these new things to do and, you know, to get more customers. And I said, I have a very clear goal. Keep that goal clear. It doesn't have to be small or big. It could be as small as that I want to go on a weekend vacation to Manali, right? That's my goal. And if I want to achieve that, I want to make sure that I'm achieving my goal professionally. So my goal that I'm aiming at is that I want to buy a farmhouse by the end of the year. For that, I need to do 150% of my target. Now I'm planning, how do I do that?
Yep. No, you have to break it all down into personal goals to reach that milestone.
Exactly.
You know, I'm going to again quickly share like a 30-second story here. So I'm sure he'll forgive me for mentioning his name, but Arbaz, who joined Leadsquared when he was, I think, 22 years old, and, you know, he joined in a completely different role. I think it was analyzing data. And then somebody said, why don't you try sales? And as you said, after his first deal, everything changed for him. Now, if I just talk to the guy, all he tells me about is sales and how many deals he closed, what he closed, and what the discussion was about. Like, he doesn't even listen to me. That's a separate thing. But yeah, I mean, he just salespeople are so happy when they're doing a great job. They're like the happiest people around, and it's wonderful to see that.
So Ajay has asked, is there a right time to make cold calls? So Ajay, just put yourself in the recipient's shoes, I suppose. Would you like a call on a Monday between 9 to 11 a.m.? The answer is no, because you're catching up on the, weekend and preparing for the week. Tuesday seems like a decent time to call, and maybe just post lunch, when they're also a little slow. They're also just unwinding and getting back into business. So never call in those peak hours, right? 9 to 11, 4 to 6. Those are all high, lots of meetings, lots of work happening usually, lots of calls scheduled. I think afternoon, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, I think would be good days to call, yeah? Don't call on a Monday morning, don't call on a Friday evening, for sure.
Yeah, and I think, so there are a lot of, in sales, there are a lot of jargons and there are a lot of theories around cold calling and timing and what is the best pitch. And there are multiple things, right? You can go on YouTube or you can go on LinkedIn and follow a couple of guys who are sales specialists and training guys. One thing that has worked for me personally when it comes to making cold calls, and this is the discipline that I've been following for 7 years, right? And that has worked for me. So I break down my 9 hours of my day into 4 different segments, apart from 1 hour that I keep aside for my coffee and my dinner and all of that. 2 hours is dedicated to research. That is the first 2 hours of the day when everybody else in my prospect world is busy starting their day. I don't want to be the first call that they're going to pick up and go like, hello, sir, would you like to talk to me for a minute? You don't want to start their day or your day with somebody banging the phone on you. So I spend the first 2 hours on researching about who I am going to contact, right? Creating that list, then researching a little bit about each of those prospects, about that company. So I have my database ready of people I'm going to reach out today. Then probably around before lunch, right? So in the US, before lunch and before the end of the day are best times to catch somebody, right? Because you might find someone who's about to get up from his desk and just leave for lunch and will be like, okay, I don't have a meeting, I'll give you a minute.
Right.
And then before he logs off for the day, again, he doesn't have a meeting. He's wrapped up with his work. He probably has half an hour to just make sure he's preparing for the next day, right, and would be a good time to talk. So I keep 2 hours before lunch and 2 hours before the end of the day. So I keep 4 hours for calling dedicatedly, 2 hours for my research. And then 2 hours is to send up follow-up emails to people who I have not been able to contact today. So I know that they've received a phone call from me. I've probably left a voicemail, but I want to make sure that I send an email, quick email, letting them know that I tried contacting you, didn't get in touch. I'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's how I break my 8 hours of my day. And there is something called as law of averages in sales, right? The calculation behind that is that if you make 70 calls a day, these are quality conversation calls that you make with research, you're going to end up talking to 5 people Out of this, 3 people are going to tell you they're not interested, and you're going to even though they can't see you, you can't see them, you're still going to smile and say, no problem, sir, thank you very much for your time. There's going to be one person who's going to probably say, okay, send me an email and I'll take a look. And there's going to be that one conversation you will have, which is going to be a potential demo or an appointment or a positive conversation or somewhere where you got information to talk to somebody else. Take that information and then go to someone else higher up, which is more like the bottom up approach. There you can make use of that one conversation.
Yeah.
So that's 5 conversations a week. That's 20 conversations almost in a month. And that will get you your 1 closure or 2 closures probably from a sales perspective. Somebody is in a sales closing role.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. I see that it is past 5, so we are going to close the session now. But thank you so much, Medini, and thank you so much, Nikhil, for your time and all the insights that you've shared. And I can see from the comments here that people have really enjoyed this discussion today. And of course, thank you so much, Priya, from the Xoxoday team for organizing this webinar and for letting the audience, hear from the speakers here. So with that, let us conclude. I hope you all have a great weekend and do take care. I know some places are opening up, so maybe go for a walk or 2. And yeah, pick up the next phone call that you get. All right.
Yes, please be kind to people who make a cold call. Give them a minute of your day.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Shibani. Thank you,
Thank
Nikhil.
you for having us.
Bye.
Thank you. It was great talking to
Bye.
everybody. Bye.